Hey crew, it's Pitt, and I'm back with some more MBTI. Today we're continuing in the support functions. This is going to be extroverted feeling. So let's just dive on in. Extroverted feeling is FE. It is what everyone else is feeling. These people are the ones that pick up on the social cues. They're the ones who are very much concerned with everyone's feelings. Now, whether they use that information for themselves or for other people is a whole different story. What they are concerned with is everyone's feelings. They are going to deal in ethics. Ethics is what we all have decided is the right thing to do. Now, that's separate from morals. Morals is what I have decided is the right thing to do. Ethics people, or FE people, are the ones that are going to tell you that everyone feels like you are putting them in danger if you do not do what they tell you to do. They're going to find all the offensive things, right? They're the ones who are looking for the slightest deviation in a joke to make it offensive. These people are the ones who are at comedy shows heckling back at the thing because they got their fees hurt. Fee. And these are the people that are looking for a reason to be offended. They're trying to find what offends not necessarily themselves, but other people. They are offended on the behalf of you. If you're a minority and somebody says a slightly off-color joke, they're the ones that are like, how dare you make comedy? Now, I'm not saying that anybody should ever be harassed or harangued or denigrated or anything like that, because I believe that we are all created equal. But there are some funny things that are outside of what you're going to consider acceptable. But the reason that they get so offended, the reason that they get so spun up is because they like making people comfortable. They like you to have good feelings because that makes them have good feelings when you have good feelings. That is why they are so ready to take offense for someone else's behalf. They're good at recognizing differences. They're good at these are the people screaming cultural appropriation because they feel like, whether it is valid or not, that having braids should only belong to people with a certain level of melanin in their skin. Now, I happen to find that pretty silly, but that's how some people live. And they see that difference, right, as a feeling thing. If I wear my hair in a way that it belongs to these melanated people, then they are going to get offended. That is the big thing about FE, is that they're very much worried about offending others and making other people comfortable. They see what might upset people. This goes back to the humor thing. Like, they're very good at picking out what you shouldn't say because it might make somebody upset. And they're going to be the ones saying, you really shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't say that. You really shouldn't think that. You really shouldn't eat that. You really shouldn't wear your hair that way. You really shouldn't do that thing because that thing is going to make someone else feel bad. Now, in the divine slot, they're going to be validating other people's feelings, right? They're going to see what the other people feel, and they're like, hey, it's okay for you to feel this way. When you're using that correctly, it's a great thing. But when you don't, and the crown is going to validate themselves by others. Now, these are the people that really get offended. Like, really get offended. These are the people that you see on the cell phone videos. These are the people validating themselves by the feelings of others. So because they are intervening, it validates their existence in their mind. The third eye is going to get defensive over that. Like, if you give pushback to the thought that what the tribe has decided the ethics should be, then these people are going to get very upset with you. And then the throat are going to think that they're the validators, right? But they really don't have that authority. They're not going to communicate well in the validation, and they're not going to lift anybody up when they try to do it. These are the people that just get it all wrong. It's not that they don't consider other people's feelings. It's just that doesn't compute in the right way. The heart is really wanting validation from other people. Uh, they're really wanting that acceptance that comes from showing that they see everyone else's feelings. The problem is that in the heart slot you really don't. Like your frequency is so low right there. Your reception of energy is so low right in the middle that you overlook it. The solar plexus is going to hate that they don't get validated, right? They're going to hate that what they feel, because if you got FE solar plexus, then you have an FI crown, right? So they're going to feel that their feelings are the most important thing, and they're going to get upset that other people don't recognize that they're not going to get validated in their feelings, and they're going to hate that. The sacral is going to chase that validation. They're going to chase everyone else's approval. They're going to be defensive over their own feelings. They're not going to be able to communicate them in the correct manner, and they're going to feel defensive over that. And so they're going to chase that validation, and there will be never-ending running behind, but I really think, I'm not a racist, but. This is the I'm not a racist, but people. And then the base is going to be obsesses over missing validation. They're going to obsess over just completely overlooking other people's feelings, and it's going to make them feel bad because their FI is going to be here in the throat where all the miscommunication starts. And so they're going to feel bad that they're not seeing other people feeling bad. It's a loop. How do we integrate this? Well, we're going to start in the base, right? And so in the base, if you're a base FE, you're going to need to make sure that you are taking the time to stop and consider what other people's feelings may be. Because your base is an FE, then your throat is going to be an FI, which means that you're going to miss your own feelings most of the time, much less everybody else's. It's going to take an extra special effort on your part to consider other people's feelings. You, in particular, are probably considered antisocial. If you're this low on FE in the stack, you're probably considered antisocial, especially if there's a TI in there too somewhere. Like it gets really, if you've got too much energy coming in on thoughts and feelings for yourself, it comes off as antisocial. So take the time in your meditative practices to think about specific examples in your life of how you're missing. Like you're missing some things. So stop and think about those things that you're missing. Stop in a situation where somebody got upset and you really don't understand why. You're like, I don't understand what happened, because that's probably how you talk. And you need to stop and be like, okay, well, let's consider this from their side. Let's put ourselves completely outside of the box and consider other people's thoughts and feelings on this. Why do they feel in this particular way? For the sacral, you're going to stop and you're going to consider too, but you're not going to have to stop trying to prove that you comply with the ethics. You're just going to have to stop trying to prove that. That does not mean don't do it. Now, some of the current ethics of our culture you may not particularly agree with. That is your morals, and your morals are higher in your stack. So even though something may be legal, you may feel that it doesn't need to be, and therefore you don't need to comply with that part of the ethics. That's going to be hard because you want that validation from others, and you're going to be chasing that validation from others. Quit chasing it. If you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and if you're living by your morals in the way that you should be, because in your third eye, FI slot, your morals are really going to see the possibilities in the future. Through your morals is how you're going to come out the other side. So you need to strengthen your morals enough that you don't have to worry about the ethics of others. For the solar plexus, you're going to have to stop and consider. If you've got an FE solar plexus, then you have an FI crown. That means that you're going to get most of your energy, and you're going to feel responsible for how you feel most of the time. So So you're going to have to turn that around. In order to get the nourishment that your soul really needs, you're going to have to flip that. You're going to have to start working towards considering others, and in an active way, because it really will nourish your soul if you can consider others, and if you can start taking up for others where you have been about yourself. Now, if I, in the top part right here, it's where your narcissists tend to join in. They're more concerned about themselves, and then up here for an FE is going to be more concerned about other people, right? And so you've got narcissism on the one side, and then you have the victims on the other side. Generally, that does not by any means mean that you are a narcissist if you have FI in the top. Those just tend to clump in that direction because they are more concerned about their own feelings. And then we get into the heart. Now, this is what you really want to do. You really want to spend your life not just being validated by other people, but giving the validation in return. Like, you need a life of affirming other people. If you have an FE heart, that means that you have an FI divine. So you're going to know your morals, clear cut, down the line, black and white, no doubt about it. And so you need to apply those in a way. You should see pastors, counselors, people that affirm other people, because in order to use your morals in the correct manner, then you need to apply them to the ethics. For the throat. Now, you're going to be wrong a lot of the time because you miscommunicate what you think other people are feeling, or you misinterpret what other people are feeling. These are the people that I don't see why they would be offended that I called them a racial slur. They really just misinterpret that whole situation. They're like, well, it's just a word, right? Or something along those lines. And it doesn't just apply to racial situations, but you need to take the time before you attempt to communicate to ensure that you are checking this back against your FI. Now, if you're an FE here in the throat, that means that you're going to be an FI down in the base. So you're going to be missing your feelings, and you're going to have to put that aside to get your throat cleared. Now, by the time you get to your throat, you should have already done that. If you're FE in the throat. But communication, the throat is all about communication. You need to find someone that you are comfortable with, that you don't fear the pushback from, to help you sort out other people's feelings. You're going to have a hard time understanding that, and you're going to feel bad about it because you should. It's in the top of your stack. You're going to feel like you should just get it, but you really misunderstand it a lot. You're going to need to take the time and get the feedback. Once you're comfortable with your person, then expand that. In the situation where the things get a little bit dicey or people might be offended, try to find out why. I know it can be very awkward to be like, well, can you explain to me why you feel this way? That's awkward. Like, there's no way to not be awkward with that. But if you can do that, you're really going to assimilate your throat and be able to communicate that a whole lot better. It's hard to do. The third eye is going to get defensive over their validation, but this is the part that sees forward. Your third eye is the part, it is the child, and it's very defensive over things, but it's defensive over things because it can see, and it's not very good at communicating it back. It should be, but it's really not, unless you take the time to work on it. If you're building up your FE here, then you're going to need to build up your FI down here. So in order to be less defensive over the FE, you're going to have to accept the FI. I feel this way. It's okay to feel this way. And because it's okay to feel this way, I don't have to get defensive over someone else's feelings. Yes, by all means, don't hurt people's feelings. You should never intentionally hurt someone's feelings. I know it can be very hard to not do that. I have a problem with that myself. But you should never try to hurt other people's feelings. Uh, be less defensive over it, though. You are not anyone else's savior. They are sovereign in their own being in the same way that you are sovereign in your own being. And so you don't have to come to the defense of them in all sorts of situations. Now, that is not to say that you should never go to the defense of someone, but if you do, make sure it's someone that can't defend themselves. If you're going to step in, make sure it is for the underdog. If somebody's outnumbered, then by all means step up. But if it's two people who are pretty equally matched, that is their dispute. That is not your dispute. All right, so the crown and the divine. By the time you get here, you have worked through all the rest of your stack, right? You have started at the bottom and you're working your way up. So by the time you get to your FE crown, which is where mine rests, you're going to have, you're going to want to feel validated by others. Now, depending on other parts of your stack, it's going to have a lot to do with whether or not somebody does, but you are going to feel responsible for making sure that you assimilate into the tribe. Now, here's the kicker on this, and this is true for all of them, but especially so for the FE right here. It's your tribe, not necessarily the whole tribe. You're going to be very concerned with making sure that your tribe has their ethics in line. And because you are very certain about that, and you want to make sure that everybody is very certain about everybody having their ethics in line, then you will feel validated by others. So you need to make sure that you are going through the rest of the functions. You need to make sure, before you push back against the ethics of the tribe, that you are on the right side of the ethics issue. You need to make sure that your morals, which will feed you, are correct. And you need to stand in them. Like, you need to not worry about other people's feelings as much because you're working on your FI down here. And that's going to help you because you know your morals, you stand in your morals, and that will feed you. And because that feeds you, then you can righteously push back against the tribe. The problem that you're going to run into is wanting to push back against the tribe at every slight that you see. When I see something, I want to flip out over the handle on it all the time. If I feel like somebody is violating ethics, whether it's a issue with anything, I want to push back. And that goes for the whole spectrum. Like, I really do push back for the underdog in every situation. It's almost a pathology. And then the divine. You are going to know without a doubt, for like with zero hesitation, what everybody in the room is feeling. But you're going to have a really hard time applying that, because if you're not stable in all the rest of your stack, you're going to take the intentions of the ethics wrong. You're going to need to take the time to consider the entire rest of the stack, because this is your most important, like, this is where you get your divine purpose. This is where you receive what you're supposed to be doing. You should be the ethics for everyone. And if you are doing this correctly, then you are a shining example to everyone, and people look to you for their ethics. But if you miss it, you wind up with a socialist country where people are dying by millions. Like, it's a massive miss if your ethics are off and you're an FE divine. Now, that assumes that you're getting into a leadership position and that you're actively trying to influence people, but it is just as easy to get tripped up in your divine as it is in your base, because both of them are overpowering. There's a large amount of want or magnetism in your divine and your base. And so it is extra for you as an FE divine to make sure that your ethics are on point. They should be. You normally, like over 90% of the time, you hit the ethics on the head. But that, that a little bit goes really bad really quick. So there's FE. I think we did all right on this one. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below. If you like what I'm doing, give me a like, share, and a sub. Hit them little bells. Do all the wonderful things to feed the algorithm. I'm getting this information out there to help you understand you and for you to work on you. I can't diagnose you. I could type you, but I can't diagnose you. I can't specify in the stack exactly how this is going to affect you, because even two people with the exact same function in the exact same spot in the stack are going to reflect that differently. Now, the main focus is going to be the same, but the devil is in the details, right? To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, this has been Pittstake. Peace.